Mr. Adi Godrej is now joining us. Do you get the sense, Mr. Godrej, after hearing Jyotir, after hearing the Finance Minister, the Prime Minister also, that the government is going to do enough to beat the slowdown? They're talking about biting the bullet. Do you go back with that sense of confidence that they will do it?
Well, I hope they do it. It's very difficult for me to predict will they do it. I hope they do it. I think the budget has some good provisions. It also has some negative provisions to my mind. And I think among the best of the provisions in this budget is a firm statement that they wish to keep the subsidies within 2% of the GDP. I think this is a strong statement. Even if they do not fully meet that objective, it's a good thing that the country has put such a target before itself, and hopefully in course of time this issue of very high expenditure of subsidies could be licked.
Jyotir, was that a factor, the sort of drama that we saw after the railway budget where Mamata Banerjee derailed Dinesh Trivedi's best laid plans? So was that one of the factors weighing on the Finance Minister that he shouldn't do anything or say anything which would force a rollback, lead to a negative reaction from Mamata Banerjee, therefore keep it very neutral, non-confrontationalist, non-controversial, so that there's nothing to roll back on? That's why the Trinamool has reacted by saying the budget is tolerable, Jyotir.
Well, I don't know what the Finance Minister is thinking, Rahul, and neither do you, but I can only say this, that I don't think that having seen the Finance Minister's track record of the last 50 years in public service, he is daunted by any threats on the horizon when he firmly is committed or believes in a particular trajectory. And I think the point that Mr. Godrej made is extremely significant in the current environment, that subsidies have been limited to 2% with a long-term target of 1.7%. At the same time, to your earlier question, I think to revive investment and the infrastructure in the manufacturing sector, opening up the capability of tax-free bonds and doubling it from 30,000 crores to 60,000 crores, increasing the ceiling for ECBs, ensuring more retail investors come into the equity markets. All of these are very, very prolific, important measures that have been started in this financial year, which will yield dividends in the years to come, not only to the corporate community, but to the people of India at large.
Okay, Jyotir, Shivnath has a question for you.
Hi, Mr. Sindhya, Shivnath. I just have a question for you, given that you've been a merchant banker in the past, you've dealt with a lot of foreign investors. It so seems that Pranab Mukherjee, while did not read out a critical part of the budget, it is there in the memorandum of understanding, and explanation 5 on page 19 actually says that a tax change is going to have a retrospective effect since 1962, whereby they are including any deal which is done outside as to be treated as the incorporation is inside the country, which in effect is trying to indicate that you are challenging the Supreme Court order on Vodafone and trying to tax all such deals struck overseas in 1962. It is absolutely a mindless proposition from what it seems.
Well, I haven't, Shivnath, to be very honest with you, I haven't read the fine print because I've been on TV channels as soon as I left Parliament. But I think his notion is very clear in terms of what he has said on transfer pricing agreements as well. And I don't think this this government is archaic or non-pragmatic. And I think at the end of the day, we do respect the right of investors in this country. And we have resolved many issues such as the one that you have mentioned in a very amicable and straightforward manner.
Jyotir, this is Govind here. How do you see it from your vantage point at commerce and industry? I mean, is this something that you see improving trade, improving overall economic growth, and is there something that could have been done which is not?
Well, fortunately, in the area of trade and commerce, I think we are still, touchwood, doing extremely well. Our exports are up at close to about 26% compared to last year, Y on Y at roughly about 270 billion. FDI numbers are up 53% at $27 billion compared to last year. That being said, I think a lot more needs to be done. What's extremely important internally, to my mind, is really skilling and vocational training Education by itself is not an end, it's the means to an end. I think the end really comes in skilling and capability of our workforce to be able to impart that cutting edge on a global scale. And I think that's where the National Skill Development Corporation will play a huge role. Capitalization of that with 1,000 crores in this fiscal budget is an extremely important step. The fact that 220 districts have presences of the private sector in this area is also extremely important. I think a lot more needs to be done on that front, but I think that's where India really will provide the cutting edge in the years to come.
Sunil, I
we have
have
a demographic advantage, no doubt, but that demographic advantage has to be honed and skilled.
Sunil.
Yeah, Jyotir, this is Sunil Alag. I don't have a question for you, and I think I'm in the minority. Right from the beginning till the end, I've been saying that this is an excellent budget, and I want to compliment you and your party and the finance minister in the trying circumstances. Of course, there are some minuses and some pluses, but a fantastic budget. Now, how you control Bengal will be the next question, but otherwise, if she's not a fair weather friend, as I say, F-A-R-E, you might as well have you've got a very good budget on hand.
Thank you, Sunil. I firmly believe that we are committed as a UPA formation to this finance budget, and I don't see any hiccups along the way in the near future to be able to complete our full term.
Mr. Godrej, despite what the government is saying,
as I mentioned, we are at
given the fact that we're seeing the Trinamool and the Trinamool and the DMK both create trouble, do you think that this government, when it says it will bite the bullet, do you think it has the will to be actually able to do so?
Well, I think there will be certainly some realignment of allies within the UPA. I think there are opportunities on that front. Let's see how it goes. But clearly, if they don't bite the budget, it will be not only bad for India's economy, but it will be very bad for their political fortunes. To my mind, it's very clear now, all governments that have delivered growth, that have delivered development, have been re-elected. And the UPA needs to prove in the next couple of years that they can do it. And the best way to do it is with reform. And the most important reform to go after, get done at an early date, is the goods and services tax, because that can change the complexion of India's economic growth.
Mr. Godrej, that's something that you've been talking about for many budgets now, and being in the consumer products business, it's in your interest to see a fair and transparent
It's in the interest of the country, whether it's in the interest of almost every company, every consumer in this country, and every government in this country.
So we did discuss this, and we felt maybe it was unfair to start debating on whether or not the government will actually execute this or meet this deadline of August 2012 in this case. Now, be that as it may, what is your own expectation? Because we've all agreed that this is a good statement of intent, this budget. We all seem to be mostly happy about what's been articulated today on the floor of Parliament. What are your concerns now? I mean, and where would you like to see quick action so as to be, or so as to feel a lot more comfortable?
I think the goods and services tax, I expect, will be enacted sometime in the next financial year. I expect, whether it is in October, or whether it is a little later or even a little earlier, that's difficult to say. It's a very important reform and needs to be done. The very negative point in this budget, of course, generally the excise duty hikes, to my mind, could have been avoided at this point of time in terms of low growth. But the most negative part is this retrospective amendment that was referred to on the Supreme Court judgment in the Vodafone case. This judgment increased the confidence of international investors in India. This judgment of the Supreme Court, it's very important that there is confidence in investing in India, and they don't think things like retrospective amendments will be brought in, or things like whenever there is a tax loss, government is going to go after that company. I think that kind of a situation is very bad for investment in the country. Investment into India is extremely important for our growth, and I think this will send a very negative message.
So let's ask Jyotir that question about goods and services tax. People are saying it could push up the growth rate in the country as well, Jyotir, but the government has delayed the timelines on this on several occasions in the past. Now August 2012 is being spoken of. Given the fact that the states seem bent on creating trouble, how confident is the government that you will be able to walk the talk and meet this deadline? Because every deadline, every announcement seems to be followed by a very quick rollback.
What's very ironic, Rahul, is that the very party that sort of moved the issue of VAT, moved the issue of GST, is today sitting opposing it tooth and nail. And I think this sort of a opportunist outlook towards politics is what the voter in India certainly has begun to abhor. We are, as in the Congress party and the UPA, extremely committed to the GST and the DTC. The problem is that BJP and the NDA allies that are creating a problem about it in terms of the states where they govern. I certainly hope that now with the vice chairmanship of this lying with the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, Sushil Modi, we will see a pragmatic outcome of this, and we are able to resolve it, because it is no longer a necessity, it is mandatory for India to pursue this. Because if we want more transparency, if we want much more accountability, if we want a streamlined system, then this has become the need of the hour today. And I think delay of this will be a travesty, not only in the political mainstream, but a travesty for the public of India.
Sunita Reddy, do you think that the opposition too, because the government gets a lot of flack from corporate India, from people watching, do you think the opposition too should be blamed for playing spoil sport at every available opportunity of obstructing for the sake of obstructing? As Jyotir says, these were ideas that were originally floated by the NDA.
I totally agree, because if you go look at all the things that the finance minister intended to do, which goes back to retail and FDI, etc. Clearly, you know, all this would have encouraged GDP growth. Not only that, it would have curbed inflation, and I think, you know, that the opposition is looking at it in a very critical manner and not enabling things to happen.
Okay, what we're going to do right now is get in a response from the BJP. We saw Jyotiraditya Scindia target the BJP. So what does the national chief spokesperson of the BJP, Ravi Shankar Prasad, make of this? He's standing by with my colleague Atish Srivastava at this time. So let's listen to Atish and Ravi Shankar Prasad.